So before I even built this setup, I wasn't planning on going dual PC at all. Originally, I was just going to upgrade my main PC like most people do. That's what everyone says, right? Just upgrade your system and stream off of that. But when I really looked into my situation, it didn't really make sense for me. I already knew what I actually wanted long term. A build with a Ryzen 9700X, a 9700 XT for the graphics card, and a B650 motherboard. The problem was I couldn't afford to jump straight to that yet. So my only option would have been to buy parts just to make my current setup look good enough for streaming. But I'm on AM4 right now. So to really upgrade properly, I'd have to move to AM5 anyways. And at that point, I'm basically just rebuilding the entire PC just to still not have the system I actually wanted long term. So that's when it hit me. Instead of spending money on temporary upgrades I already know I'm going to replace, why not just build a second PC that can handle streaming right now? That way, my main PC stays focused on gaming, and I'm not wasting money on parts I don't plan on keeping. And when I finally do upgrade, all of that power goes straight into the game instead of being split between gaming and streaming. And on paper, that sounded like the smarter move. But I really didn't know what it was going to be like actually, using a dual PC setup day to day. So this whole build was kind of just me testing that idea. Like, is this actually worth it, or did I just make things more complicated for no reason? One thing that actually surprised me was how smooth everything felt once it was set up. Like, I expected it to work, but I didn't expect it to feel this consistent. Before, I couldn't even stream properly off of one PC. My system wasn't strong enough, and I was getting encoding lag. So the stream would start breaking down even if the game was running fine. So for me, it wasn't really even a trade-off. It just straight up didn't work the way I needed it to. My main PC is just focused on running the game, and my streaming PC handles everything else. So it just feels a lot more stable overall. And another thing I didn't expect was how much cleaner it made everything mentally. Instead of constantly tweaking settings and trying to balance everything just has its own job now. Gaming PC does the game, streaming PC does the stream. And that separation actually made a bigger difference than I thought it would. And honestly, one of the coolest parts is being able to hear both PCs at the same time with one headset. I've got my game audio from my main PC, and then OBS alerts and everything streaming related from the streaming PC. And that gives me way more control than I expected because I can balance everything exactly how I wanted without interfering with my gameplay. Also, once everything was set up, I wasn't constantly messing with it. I thought I'd be troubleshooting every stream, but once it's dialed in, it's kinda just works. And that's probably the biggest thing. It feels reliable. I thought I'd be troubleshooting every stream, but once it's dialed into, it kind of just works. And that's probably the biggest thing. It feels reliable. Like I can just turn everything on and focus on playing instead of worrying about the stream in the background. Now, here is the part that nobody really likes to talk about. This setup itself was not hard, but it is more complex than a single PC. There's just a lot more going on behind the scenes. You've got two systems, audio routing, capture cards, OBS, and everything has to work together. And at the beginning, it could feel overwhelming. There were definitely moments where something worked on one PC and not the other, or audio was going to the wrong place, or something just wasn't showing up the way I expected. And that was probably the most frustrating part. It's not always obvious what's wrong. You kind of just have to understand the whole system and troubleshoot it. And once you go do a PC, you're dealing with more points of failure. More cables, more software, more things that can go wrong. So yeah, it does take time and patience in the beginning, but once everything clicks, it's actually becomes pretty straightforward. It's just that the initial setup phase is the hardest. And this is probably the biggest reason I went this route. It came down to money and long-term thinking. I already knew what I wanted for my final build, but I couldn't afford it yet. That was the main block. So upgrading my current PC just to stream better would have basically meant spending money on parts I already knew I was going to replace. And for me, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. So instead of putting money into something temporary, I built something that can actually add to my setup long term. Because now I have a dedicated streaming PC that I can keep using, even when I do upgrade my main system later. And that's the key difference. This wasn't just about performance. It was about not wasting money. Now, this doesn't make sense for everybody. If you can afford your final build right now, upgrading might be the better move. But if you're in that middle space like I was, this can actually be a smarter way to move forward. Looking back, there are definitely things I'd do differently. The biggest one, I would have recorded everything as I was learning it, because I tried to get everything working first, and then I went back and re-recorded parts of it, and it just made everything take way longer than it needed to. Another big one was documenting every step. There were times where I took a break and came back, and I had to re-figure out my own setup, like the Discord setup. I literally had to retrace my steps just to understand what I did. And that could have been avoided if I documented everything properly. Same thing with the physical setup. And I redid my floor. I took everything apart without taking enough pictures. And then I had to guess where cables went, and when I put it back together, I even ended up buying an extra cable for my Elgato that I didn't need, just because I thought something was wrong. So yeah, I needed to document everything I did. And dealing with crashes and technical issues while trying to edit something at this scale, it definitely slowed me down a lot. There were times where I was fighting the software more than I was actually editing. That's why I switched to DaVinci Resolve moving forward. And my biggest realization overall is just understanding the scale of this kind of content. These videos are way bigger than they seem at first, but I'm glad I kept everything to one video, because now it exists as a complete system from start to finish. So the real question, who should actually do this? Because honestly, this setup just isn't for everybody. If you're starting out or you're streaming casually, you probably don't need this. A single PC setup is more than enough to get going. But if you're taking streaming more seriously and you care about performance, consistency, and having control of your setup, this is where it starts to make sense. And especially if you're in a position like I was, where you already know what you want long term, but you're just not there yet. Because that's really why I did this. I didn't want to spend money upgrading my current system just to make it good enough, because I was going to replace it anyways later. So instead, just built something that added to my setup long term. And that's what it came down to. You either spend money just to get by, or you build something that actually moves you forward. So it's not about what's better, it's just about what makes sense for you right now. So, would I do this again? Honestly, yeah. Knowing everything I know now, I'd 100% do it again. Not because it was easy, but because it actually solved the problem I had. And yeah, it was a long process. There were some frustrating moments, but it was worth it. Because now, I feel like I didn't just build this for myself, I built something that could help other people avoid the same mistakes I went through. Especially since these setups usually aren't explained in detail like the one I made. And on top of that, I ended up with something I genuinely enjoy using every single day. It's stable, it's flexible, and it doesn't take anything away from my gameplay. I also feel like I improved a lot, especially when it comes to troubleshooting. And honestly, I'm glad this was my first big flagship video, because this is exactly the kind of content I want to keep making. Really in-depth tutorials that, if you knew absolutely nothing about the subject, if you follow me, I can get you going. So yeah, it took time. It wasn't perfect, but I'd certainly do it again. And if you want to see exactly how I set everything up step by step, like the wiring, the audio routing, OBS, and all of that, it's all in the full video. I went through everything from start to finish so you can follow without guessing. So if you're serious about building something like this, that video will walk you through the entire system. But that's pretty much it. I'll catch y'all next time.